Get this, adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Wondery. Greenlight.com/Wondery.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY at checkout.
Hi, I'm Jessie Prey.
And I'm Andy Cassette. Welcome to Love Murder, where we unravel the darkest tales of romance turned deadly.
Our episodes are long-form, narrative-driven, and deeply researched. Perfect for the true crime aficionados seeking stories beyond the headlines.
Like the chilling case of Blanche Taylor Moore, the so-called Black Widow who left a trail of poisoned lovers.
Or the shocking murders of Chad Shelton and Dwayne Johnson, where family ties masked a sinister plot.
Subscribe to Love Murder on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 417 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, what is going on?
What's happening with you?
Not much. Had a good Memorial Day holiday weekend.
Yeah, good.
That my girls, came up, and they actually stayed till Wednesday. So we had like a 5-day weekend almost.
Wow, so they still like you.
They still do.
Yeah, that's good.
Or they wanted free meals. One or the other.
Don't be trying to make them like a Gibby. Yeah, for the free meals.
They're not a Gibby at all. Let's go ahead and do our Patreon shout outs. We had Merritt Anderson.
Hey, Anderson.
Aaron Kane.
Like in sugar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diane Dreyer.
Hey, Diane.
Angie West.
What's up, West?
Rachel Drew.
Hey, there's the Drews.
Crystal Strotkamp.
Well, thanks, Strotkamp.
Veronica Goff.
Hey, like golf, like hit that ball over there?
No. Like woof.
Woof?
But with an L. Without the L. Like the way you say it. It's golf.
Woof.
No L.
Golf.
Tasha Volk.
Hey, Volk.
Lori Prusak.
I'm just going to say Lori because I keep getting in trouble saying.
You do. You said that very strangely on Patreon. I'll just leave it at that. Kristen Graves.
Hey, Kristen.
And last but not least, Jade Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
And if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Melissa Carew.
Well, Melissa, thank you.
So we appreciate all the support. Speaking of Patreon, we dropped a new episode on Saturday on Joseph Villani and Raquel Garajal. These two plotted the murder of a rival marijuana dealer.
Yeah.
But it was really kind of their digital footprint, the text messages and different things that showed the plotting and the cover-up that is really fascinating about this case.
Do you think they're pissed now that they know, like, you just walk in anywhere and get marijuana now?
Probably.
Yeah.
As are a lot of people still locked up for marijuana offenses.
Oh, I bet they have to be really upset.
who got extremely long sentences.
Yeah, didn't like Michigan at one point put people in prison for a really long time?
I thought California was doing it there for a while. I thought like in the 80s and stuff like that. We have a new episode out on True Crime All the Time where we're talking about Melanie McGuire. Now, this is a woman who claimed that her husband was abusive, left her, but then he's never seen again until his dismembered remains were found in 3 suitcases in the Chesapeake Bay.
But she was very good at planning.
Well, she was calculating,
Yes.
plotted. Yeah, there's a lot that went into this one. All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I am.
On August 1st, 2017, 14-year-old Tristan Dilley was found dead in her bedroom. Investigators looked at her phone records and were soon led to a 19-year-old named Paul Adams, who had been secretly communicating with Tristan for weeks. Now, this has come up before in cases that we've done, but I will ask you the question. How is that conversation going to go down in your household if you find out that your 14-year-old daughter is talking to a 19-year-old?
It's not going to go well.
No, I don't think it would here either. Fortunately, I never had to experience that, so I don't know how it would have gone. But I'm in the same camp as you are. It couldn't have been good. Tristan Dilley was a young teenager who lived in Buna, Texas, with her mom, Bonnie Kuhn. At the time of her death, Tristan was a freshman junior varsity cheerleader at Silsbee High School. Tristan was described as a popular, vivacious, and outgoing girl. She was an athlete. She participated in track, volleyball, basketball, and cheerleading. Tristan had wanted to be a cheerleader since she was a little girl.
Similar to you. I mean, weren't you a cheerleader
Sure.
in school? I thought you did.
Sure. But this is Texas, right? And Texas is football, cheerleading. I mean, you're talking about Friday Night Lights.
They do everything bigger in Texas. So they say.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
I know they take their football very seriously. I know
do.
that.
They really do.
Her coach, Danielle Waymeyer, told People her teammates meant the world to her. Cheerleading is a sport that requires trust and personality. With Tristan, we always had 100% of both.
Yeah, it really is a interesting sport because I dated a girl in high school that was a cheerleader, but it was not just on the sideline cheerleading. They did these competitions where they traveled across the state.
Yeah.
And it was crazy the things they would do, you know, and you really, found a different respect for that sport. Because that's what it was.
It is a sport.
It's a sport.
Yeah. I mean, when you get into that level, especially, I mean, you're not just, and I'm not taking anything away from any cheerleaders, but you're not just waving pom-poms on the sideline.
No.
I mean, you think about the gymnastics aspect of the tumbling and all that, and you look at it and you think, I think my leg would just snap on one of those landings. And they're doing it over and over and over.
And I get the trust factor, when you're jumping off somebody 2-3 people high or higher.
And a bunch of people are trying to
catch you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're putting a lot of trust. Principal Paul Trevino also told People she was very positive. She had that type of personality that people wanted to be around her and hang out with her. So, I mean, we're getting a picture here. Very athletic, very outgoing, with a personality that is positive and people want to be around.
It's a good thing to have.
On September 29th, 2017, Tristan cheered at her school's homecoming game. She attended a dance with friends and spent the night with her friend Keely Abshire. You remember homecoming back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that places do it the way that we used to do it. I mean, we used to have a big bonfire. There wasn't a lot of safety protocols in place. I'm sure things are done a little differently these days.
Pretty sure there are. Yeah. But it was a good time back then.
It was. Tristan's mother picked her up on October 1st. Keely told Tristan, She would see her at school on Monday, and that was the last time she saw her friend. And these parts of the story, they always hit me, whether it's an episode that we're doing or, some true crime show that I'm watching where they have real friends of the victim on. When they talk about that last conversation, you can tell how tough that is to relive.
Yeah.
And, my thought is you're never going to forget it. It's going to be seared in your memory because what is to follow is going to be such a traumatic event. During the car ride, Bonnie and Tristan talked about her upcoming 15th birthday. On October 3rd, Bonnie said in an interview, we were going to have a mother-daughter date night and just talk about anything and everything. And that right there tells me that they probably had a really, really good relationship.
Yeah, I know that. I've heard you guys talk about it, right? You've had date nights with your girls. Your wife has date nights with the girls as well.
Sure,
you guys have that connection with them.
We do, and we do have that kind of you can talk about anything and everything, which not all kids can do. And it's not just because of the parents. Some kids just don't want their parents to find out about that.
Right.
And my kids weren't always like that. They have come to grow into that where they're very comfortable and they know we're not going to be, too judgy or stuff like that.
They're pretty comfortable around the dinner table.
They
I'll
are.
say that.
Yeah, they share more than what they should, for sure.
Entertaining.
Bonnie dropped Tristan off at home and left at 3 p.m. to run errands with Tristan's younger brother, Colby, who was just 13 at the time. Tristan said she didn't want to go because she was tired from the dance. Bonnie said she'd be back soon. Bonnie and Tristan texted back and forth while she was out. Bonnie noticed something was off. Tristan seemed kind of scared, but she couldn't figure out what was wrong. So Bonnie skipped some of her errands to get home sooner. Tristan sent her last text to Bonnie at 4:44 p.m. Bonnie texted her back at 5:12 and didn't realize that Tristan never replied.
But isn't it like a mom to even tell in text messages that something is not right with their daughter?
Yes, mother's intuition, which you and I have talked about a lot. I think part of that, though, is the relationship that they had probably played a big factor into that. I think Bonnie was really dialed in to Tristan and, how she was feeling. Once she got home, Bonnie went upstairs to check on Tristan. She cracked the door and saw the lights were off. She assumed that Tristan was napping and went back downstairs. Around 7:45 p.m., Bonnie asked Colby to go upstairs and get Tristan to come down for dinner. Colby opened the door and stepped in what he thought was water. He looked down and saw Tristan laying on her bed in a puddle of blood. He called out to his mother and Bonnie ran upstairs. Bonnie saw blood coming out of Tristan's mouth and nose. She laid her daughter on the floor and started CPR while Colby called 911. Bonnie continued performing CPR until first responders arrived and confirmed Tristan was dead. And to me, this is just unimaginable. I mean, first of all, you have a 13-year-old who finds his sister in that type of condition. Then you have a mother who comes in and obviously knows something is so horribly wrong that she immediately starts performing CPR.
Yeah.
And then to have first responders come in and confirm that she was dead. I mean, just a horrible scene. Tristan died of 2 gunshot wounds to the head. Police found a bullet hole in the wall above Tristan's bed. The hole appeared to be from a .22 caliber Magnum shell. No weapon was found at the scene, which indicated Tristan's death was a homicide. Pretty tough to rule something a suicide when, there's no weapon found.
Yeah, makes it difficult.
But it was very difficult for the family to comprehend that someone would want to kill Tristan.
Yeah, because we just learned how positive and nice and how wonderful she is. Why would somebody want to hurt her?
Yeah. I mean, everybody seemed to love her. I always think, at 14 years old, who could you have made an enemy of to the point where they would want to kill you?
Yeah. How could you have wronged somebody that bad?
At 14.
Yeah.
Bonnie recalled, I remember looking up at the ceiling fan or anything that could have hit her in the head in any way, shape, or form. My mind could not register a gunshot. Everything just kind of turned into a blur. The investigators, they were asking a lot of questions, and they asked me about the night of the murder. I remember I tidied up the house before I left, and when I got back, I noticed that some other things had been cleaned. Not that I found it odd, because it was completely normal for her to help out around the house, but I felt something different. There were also no signs of forced entry or evidence of a struggle in Tristan's room, which indicated she knew the killer. The theory was that Tristan cleaned the house because she was going to have someone over while her parents were out.
It's very possible. Growing up at that age, I mean, I went over to visit some of the girls I knew when their parents were away. It's what you do.
It's what you did.
Well, not like you're trying to tell me.
You also made it sound like this was a multiple girls situation, like many, like a plethora.
I did not. But you can't tell me you didn't go over to any girl's house when their parents were away. I know you did.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you're a youngster, let's say, I think for most people, if you're a young guy, 14, 15, 16 years old, what is on your mind? For me, it was sports and girls, and there was really nothing else. If you're a girl, you're probably thinking about some guy you like. I mean, it's that time where, the hormones are raging, bodies are changing, all of that stuff.
Exactly. If I wasn't doing sports or hanging out with a girl, I was in the chemistry lab.
The fact that you almost got that out with a straight face was pretty good.
I was going to say, or I was at the library, but I knew that would not make it.
Colby recalled how investigators questioned him, but his mom shut down any possibility that he could be involved. Colby and Tristan had a close bond, and there were no problems between them. Colby even described Tristan as his best friend. And as tough as it would be to, try to figure out who could have had a problem to the point where they would shoot and kill your 14-year-old daughter, thinking that your 13-year-old son was the one who did it, that would be even tougher.
It would be tough.
Especially if they did have the bond that, it was said they had. Many people had come to town for the homecoming game, which widened the suspect pool. Police wondered if someone was watching the cheerleaders in the stands and targeted Tristan.
Possibility.
Well, I think when you're this early on in the investigation, just about everything is a possibility, right? Nearly everyone at her school was considered a person of interest. The police focused on the people who had contact with her in the time between the homecoming dance and her murder. Tristan's friend Keely mentioned that people were jealous of Tristan because she was beautiful, popular, and had a lot going for her. Keely advised the police that Tristan had an ex-boyfriend named Brian. There was a jealousy issue the night before at the dance because Tristan was dancing with Brian, which angered another girl. However, the police looked into this and learned that the conflict was nothing more than some looks and comments. And, that's the type of stuff you would expect from 14, 15-year-olds.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's just normal high school homecoming drama stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there might be a fight with some hair pulling and some, slapping or something like that. What you don't expect is any of these situations to escalate into a 14 or 15-year-old coming over to somebody's house and shooting them twice in the head.
No.
That's just really hard to imagine. Not to say it doesn't happen. It's just really tough to imagine.
Makes you wonder whatever happened to the breakdance battles that, we did back in the day. Solved it on the floor.
Yeah, I know you're very proud of that role you had in Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. True Crime All the Time Unsolved is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states and situations. Keely recalled that after the dance, they were waiting for her dad to pick them up, and Tristan told her she wished she could have met up with someone, but she didn't name them. Once they got to the house, Tristan was messaging back and forth with a guy, but Keely didn't know who he was. Now, Tristan's parents were aware that she was talking to a boy named Adam. They believed Adam was a 16-year-old boy. Okay, 14, 16, the 14-year-old's about ready to turn 15. That's not that big a gap.
It's allowable.
Bonnie didn't know much about the relationship, so she told the police to talk to Philip, Tristan's father, because he might know more. Philip had reportedly met Adam. Philip believed Adam was a basketball player at Tristan's school. But Tristan's friend Keely didn't know anyone named Adam at their school. This was unusual because Silsbee is a place where everyone knows everyone. The school also had no information about a 15 or 16-year-old student named Adam.
So now you got to be somewhat concerned.
Yeah. Who is this Adam? Where is he from? Why does no one, seem to know him? But, I think I've said it before. I grew up in a place like this. It was a very small place. The school was small. You knew everyone in all 4 grades of high school. Nowadays, most people don't even know all the people in their class.
Yeah.
Because the classes are 300 or 400 people and more.
They're big. They're big like it was when I went to school. I was at one of those big high schools that had, 600, 700 people, per class. So you were just lucky to know the people in your homeroom and maybe, a few other people in your senior class or whatever class you're in, but you didn't know everybody in the school.
Yeah, I think my graduating class only had 180 maybe or something like that. Yeah. So, it was fairly small. Investigators utilized Facebook and Adam's phone number to find 19-year-old Paul Audrey Adams, a nursing student at Lamar State College. Tristan and Paul became Facebook friends in August 2017 during the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey. After the hurricane, Tristan wanted to help her community and donated clothes and shoes to people in need. And knowing what we know about Tristan, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, she's just stepping up.
She seems like she was just an amazing person. Tristan also saw Paul Adams's August 30th Facebook post. He posted photos of his flooded house with the caption, "Help, me and my father are stuck in our house." Tristan reached out to some friends who were out helping people and sent them to Paul's house. According to People, Tristan sent the message, "I think someone's on their way." Paul responded, "We're being rescued now. Thanks." Tristan wrote, "You're welcome. Text me later and tell me what's all going on."
So that's how they started chatting.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting way to meet, right? During this kind of tragic event, Hurricane Harvey, he's in need of help. She knows some people who are out helping, and she directs them his way. And it seems like, from there, they struck up a friendship. Tristan and Paul continued throughout September 2017. Bonnie was aware of Paul Adams, but thought he and Tristan were acquaintances, nothing more. She did have one conversation with Tristan, where Tristan mentioned that a 19-year-old boy was interested in her. She didn't specifically say it was Paul Adams, and Bonnie told her it was inappropriate because of the age gap. She thinks this is why Tristan kept future communications with Paul a secret.
I'm sure it was. Like, my mom thinks it's inappropriate, so I won't tell her about it anymore.
Yeah, and that is the fine line, right? That a parent has to walk. You don't want your kids to keep secrets from you, especially those kinds, right? Big type of things that could potentially cause problems, but you also have to be a parent, and you kind of have to set boundaries, and you have to, at some times, kind of lay down the law.
The issue with that is she's already formed a connection with this guy. And at least from my experience with my kids and nieces and nephews, you just can't get them to stop those connections.
No, I think that's been proven throughout time. Whether people think it's appropriate, not appropriate, there are times when, like, the heart wants what the heart wants. And you're not going to be able to keep people away from each other. As much as you want to, as much as you tell someone, no, we don't want you seeing them, kids have a way of finding a way. Whether they say they're sleeping over at a friend's house, which used to be your old ruse.
It was.
And then, God knows what you were out doing. I'm sure something against the laws of God and nature and who knows what else.
But it's the old Romeo-Juliet syndrome, right?
Yeah. Star-crossed lovers, shouldn't be together, whatever you want to call it. I think most people would look at a relationship between a 14-year-old girl and a 19-year-old man and say, no, that's not appropriate.
Right.
An officer showed Tristan's father a photo of Paul Adams, and he didn't recognize him. Neither parent was aware of her ongoing contact with the 19-year-old. According to the Alton Telegraph, Tristan and Paul met through an older relative who later confronted Paul and told him to leave Tristan alone because he was too old for her. So, the relatives on both sides of the fence are all in agreement, right? This relationship shouldn't be.
Right.
His relatives are saying, you're too old for her. Her parents are saying he's too old for you. You're too young for him. But like we said, it is sometimes very hard, maybe impossible, especially in this digital age, to keep people from, at the very least, talking to each other.
I think you're right. It's impossible.
Well, for one, you can't monitor your kids 24 hours a day. You just can't do it. And you can't, lock them up in their room. The law frowns upon that.
But the relationship that you would have with your kid if you tried to do something like that wouldn't be healthy either, right?
No, they'd hate you.
You can be a helicopter parent, but that would be more like a multiple helicopters. I don't know how you would say it, but it would just be over the top.
Okay. Multiple helicopter parent.
Yeah.
Tristan's friend Keely said she was very trusting and sweet and never would have guessed she could be hurt.
Well, she is 14. She's going to be sweet and she's going to be trusting because she hasn't been exposed to a lot of the other things out in that world that will turn you somewhat.
Change your perception and nor should she be, right? Exposed to some of that stuff. That's why she shouldn't be dating a 19-year-old, exactly. in my opinion. The police reviewed Tristan and Paul's text history and believed he was grooming her and trying to gain her trust. When they checked his Facebook, his female friends were similar in age and physical description to Tristan. Sheriff Mitchell Newman told CBS Austin that investigators believed Paul was communicating with other underage girls besides Tristan.
To me, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem. Now, I get it. If you met someone kind of the way they did, let's say, and you just developed a friendship and you talked through text messages every now and then, and it was totally platonic.
Yeah.
I'm still not great with it, but it is what it is. But if you have a person, in this case, a 19-year-old man, and all of his female friends on Facebook are 14 or 15 years old, there's something going on there. That's not normal.
Yeah, it appears he's targeting
underage girls.
Yeah.
And also that he has a proclivity and an attraction to underage girls. Tristan and Paul started texting at 2:52 p.m. on October 1st. Tristan texted the number saved as Adam. They haven't left yet. Minutes later, per investigation discovery, Adam responded, "I'm leaving right now, on my way." Tristan replied, "They just left." So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, right, from these text messages that they had made a plan that involved Adam coming to Kristen's home at the point in time when Tristan knew that her mother and brother were going to be out running errands.
Sure seems that way.
Authorities went to Paul Adams' home in Vidor, Texas. Around 1:30 a.m. on October 2nd, Paul's mother, Patricia Adams, answered the door. Paul wasn't home. Patricia informed the police that Paul left around 3:30 p.m. the day before to meet a girl from school in Beaumont. The police soon learned that Paul was also hiding his communication with Tristan from his parents.
Of course, because they wouldn't have approved.
No, I don't think anyone in his circle, his family circle, approved or would have approved of that either. When searching Paul's room, authorities found a .22 caliber Magnum casing, believed to be the caliber that killed Tristan. This made Paul the main suspect. The police were concerned that Paul might harm another girl and ramped up the search efforts. And I think he has to be the main suspect, right? You have the .22 caliber Magnum, which was known to be the caliber of the gun that killed Tristan. Once you find out about these text messages, it obviously puts him at her house.
Yeah, he's at the scene. And if he did do it, what's the motive behind it?
Yeah, we definitely have to try to get into that as well. The Texas Rangers returned to Paul's house at 10:30 a.m. to interview Patricia. He called his mother during this interview and was willing to talk. He was emotional and cried during the conversation. Paul admitted he had a history with Tristan and that he was at her home at the time of the murder, but he denied killing her. Paul claimed they heard an intruder coming upstairs. He described the alleged intruder as an older white man with a beard, whom he didn't know. He hid in the shower and heard Tristan scream, "Get off of me." He heard 2 gunshots, followed by the sound of the man running out of the house. Paul waited a couple of minutes and found Tristan dead in her room. He ran because he didn't know what to do.
Is that possible?
Well, as far as anything is possible, yes, it's possible. I mean, could a monkey fly out of my backside while we're recording this episode? It's possible, I guess.
I mean, I've heard weird noises coming out of your backside, but I don't know. Monkey?
But possible versus plausible, right? That's what we talk about a lot. I mean, possible to me is a very broad term. Plausible narrows it down quite a bit. Because I think even with this story, there are questions that definitely crop up. You know, could he be there when an intruder breaks in? Yes, that could happen. But why is he going to hide in the shower and leaving Tristan in the bed?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you not try to protect her?
Or at the very least, you both go hide in the shower.
Right.
And as a 19-year-old, would you not try to protect this 14 going on 15-year-old girl with whom you say, you know, you have a connection?
Yeah, you would think.
Now, I'm not saying that, you know, every guy in every situation is going to be Rambo, right? Because we're not all made like that. Some people shut down. Some people are so scared they can't do anything.
And some people are only in it for themselves.
That's true. But in the grand scheme of things, it just doesn't make a lot of sense for him to go hide in the shower without her. Now, you can make the argument that he thought maybe it was somebody in her family coming home.
Yeah.
And so he has to hide.
Because he's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, because he's not supposed to be there. But at some point, he hears, "Get off of me, get off of me." Well, that's not a family member. The ranger tried to talk Paul into coming back to speak to them, saying he could be a useful witness to solve Tristan's murder. After a few minutes of silence, the ranger heard a gunshot and believed Paul shot himself. The call ended soon after this. Authorities doubted Paul's story about the intruder because he failed to call the police once he was safe. And to me, that is such a big thing, right? Even if some of the stuff he said happened was true. He said he ran out of the house because he didn't know what to do. But are you really not going to alert the authorities? I mean, how do you know that there's not a chance they could save her life?
Exactly.
And you're just going to go home and never say a word about it?
Like it never happened?
So I get it. People can make the argument that, in the heat of the moment, they were scared. They were, frightened for their life. They probably didn't step up and do what, many of us might think should have been done. But once you get out of the house and you're home, well, you're safe, right? And the fact that even after that, you don't call the authorities, to me is such a big red flag. And I think it was to the authorities as well. Officers pinged Paul's phone and located it in a wooded area in Orange County. At 11:30 a.m. on October 2nd, authorities found his vehicle and a tent in the woods. Two deputies approached from about 150 yards away. As they moved closer, Paul raised a gun to his head and shot himself. Officers found a suicide note written on 8 index cards that were stacked and weighed down with a knife. On the hood of his vehicle, Paul placed flowers under the knife. In the note, Paul professed his innocence, wrote about the alleged intruder, and emphasized that he feared no one would believe his story. The Beaumont Enterprise published his note in full. It read, "I know what you're thinking, but I didn't kill her. I love Tristan with all my heart. I know we shouldn't have snuck around, but I also know she's 14 and I'm 19, but that did not matter to us. We cared about each other deeply. It was her birthday soon and we just wanted to see each other. When I got to her house, everything was fine for a few hours, but then we heard someone come in. We thought it was her parents, but it was some man. He looked to be in his mid-50s, wore blue jeans and a Boston Red Sox ball cap. Thinking it was her parents, I hid in the bathroom. But I realized it wasn't her parents when Tristan started screaming. I didn't see what happened, but I believe she was assaulted because she kept screaming for him to get off her, and I just stood by. I wanted to try and help her, but he was threatening her with a gun. I knew if I tried anything, he would shoot me too. But if I knew now what I knew after it all happened, I would give my life to try and save her. Now this is all happened, I feel it will just be better to end my life. I can't live knowing I was too much of a coward to do anything about it. I don't even know Tristan's parents' names, but I am so sorry this happened. I'd do anything to go back and stop him if I could. Mom, I love you with all my heart. You were the best mom anyone could ask for. I wish I could have finished college and got a job with good family, but now things will never be the same. I feel they will hold me responsible. And after watching so many shows of lockup, I'd rather die than be locked up in a cage my whole life. I have so many questions as well. Why did this happen to us? But I guess the universe is full of surprises. Yes, I'm scared to die, but the alternative to staying alive seems hopeless. I just hope my death is quick. I believe Tristan died instantly. I just remember hearing 2 shots and then silence. When I looked in her room, all I could see was a perfectly still body and a huge puddle of blood. I didn't know what to do besides run. but even running from something like this is useless. My only wish is to be cremated, and I want all of my possessions to go to my parents. I know people will think I killed her, or I was responsible for letting it happen, but I know what happened. I felt like a drop of water in all the oceans. I wanted to scream, but no words could come out. It was as if the breath was knocked out of me.
Well, that's a lot to take in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, right? It was 8 different index cards. you know? But I think you have to break it down a little bit. One of the first things that jumped out at me was the description of this man, right? He said, appeared to be in his mid-50s, wore blue jeans and a Boston Red Sox ball cap. Okay, that's a pretty decent description.
It is.
How did he see this man if he ran right away into the shower thinking it was her parents coming up the stairs?
Exactly.
That really kind of stuck out to me.
Because he also told the police on the phone that the man had a beard.
A beard. Right. So he got, according to him, a pretty good look at him. Now, he didn't know what her parents looked like, but if he saw this guy, how did this guy not see him?
Right.
And know that he went to go hide in the bathroom, presumably in the shower.
And then I have to think, if she's being assaulted by this person and she's screaming out, does she not ever scream out for him? Saying, hey, come help me, you know? Paul, help me.
Which would then alert the attacker that there's somebody else there with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point as well. Now, we're making a lot of assumptions here, and we're putting forth some theories, but I think some of them are rooted in, some critical thinking. And then, I guess the end where he says, I felt like a drop of water in all the oceans. I wanted to scream, but no words come out. It was as if the breath was knocked out of me. I didn't really understand all of that other than, what was he saying? I was so shocked by what was happening.
I think he was trying to provide answers to whoever would listen to why he didn't do what people thought he should have done, if that was the case, right? If he was an innocent bystander, why didn't you do what you should have done? Why did you just stand in the shower and not help her?
Yeah, I think he's doing that, but he's doing that because he's put forth this scenario.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't him who killed Tristan. It was this guy in his 50s wearing blue jeans, had a beard, and, had a Red Sox baseball hat. So once he puts that forth, deflecting any blame from him, then he also goes into the fact that, he knows people are going to think it was him, or they're going to think he should have done something. And he says it, right? It would be better off for me to end my life. I've watched too many episodes of Lockup.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it sounds like he's saying, I can't handle what people will think of me, and I can't handle going to prison for something that I didn't do.
According to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as with the other things that, he said, it just doesn't ring true to me. At the campsite, authorities found a collection of suspicious items, including an axe, a machete, a couple of hatchets, 4 camping knives, 32 meal rations, 4 cases of water, a water purification kit, 4 burlap sacks, duct tape, ropes, a 30 and 40-pound dumbbell, 8 pairs of handcuffs, and a book on anatomy.
Okay, that's a little strange, right?
Yeah, I think you and I have both been camping before. Now, some people might take certain things that others might not. I don't know how many people take a 30 and a 40-pound dumbbell with them camping.
Okay.
You got to get your pump on.
Yeah.
I get that. Now, what about the 8 pairs of handcuffs?
It's a concern.
and you're doing a little studying up on anatomy?
Well, he was going to nursing school.
Now, the other thing is that to me, this seems like something that was not spur of the moment, right? I don't know who has all of this stuff just laying around that you grab very quickly and throw in your vehicle and go hide out.
It's like pre-planned. You had the site picked out. You got your tent. You got all this stuff. I mean, who has 32 ration meals or whatever you want to call them ready to go?
Well, I do.
Well, as I said that, I thought, I think you have buckets.
I have way more than that. And I have a ton of water, and I have you know what I don't have? 8 pairs of handcuffs.
No.
I don't know who does. And what's all the burlap sacks for?
Yeah, I don't really know what you would use those for.
According to People, Paul spent between $1,500 and $1,600 on these items, and he started buying them in the week before the murder, which, as we just talked about, raised the possibility of premeditation. Paul also had $570 in cash at the campsite. The police suspect he had these items for dismantling bodies and was going to dismember and dispose of Tristan's body in the canal near his campsite. And I get that. I mean, you've got a lot of sharp implements.
Right.
Now, some of that stuff people would just take normally on a camping trip. But if you see a picture of this campsite, it's not like anybody would ever set up.
I mean, you're thinking axe and machete, duct tape, rope, burlap sacks. Okay.
Yeah. To me, some of the material is because he knows he's going to be out there for some period of time. Some of it appears to be for possibly dismembering a body or other bodies. We know he was talking and possibly grooming a number of other underage girls, maybe possibly putting their bodies in the sack and then weighing them down with these dumbbells. I don't know what else you could theorize.
And that's where the book of anatomy would come in, right?
And, you've got the 8 handcuffs. I mean, what good comes from that? Paul Adams was a mystery to investigators. On the outside, he appeared to be a normal college student. Sheriff's Lieutenant Ryan Cunningham told People that Paul had no criminal record. He didn't have any friends. He was homeschooled. He had a friend growing up, and that friend said he hadn't talked to him in a couple of months. No one had any idea about his behavior. Paul's autopsy, released in January 2018, revealed he had marijuana and tobacco in his system at the time of his death. Authorities have not determined a motive. Sheriff Mitchell Newman said about the suspicious items found at the campsite, "It's easy to assume what he was going to do. We can assume he was jealous or whatever, but it's impossible to know for sure now."
True statement.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when he ended his life, a lot of the answers to the burning questions, they went with him. The department was still awaiting ballistics at this time, but testing later confirmed that the gun Paul used to end his life was the same gun that killed Tristan Dilley. Authorities feel certain Paul was the killer, and his story about an intruder was a lie.
Well, when you have the same gun used in the murder and in the suicide, it's hard to argue that.
Yeah, I mean, if he had lived and was found with that gun, what would be his story then? Well, the killer dropped it. I picked it up.
Yeah.
And took it with me. And I still have it. How would you explain that? It's unexplainable. Chief Scott Duncan of the Jasper County Sheriff's Office shared his theory about what happened with Investigation Discovery. He believed Paul was planning on bringing Tristan to the campsite and killing her there, but something got in the way of his plan. We know that Bonnie texted Tristan at 5:12 p.m. to tell her she was almost home. Chief Duncan believes Paul saw the text and panicked and killed Tristan at the house. Regarding the suspicious items, Chief Duncan said, I think Tristan herself was possibly going to be the first of many victims.
I think he's right. I'm sitting here thinking this could have been a young 19-year-old serial killer in the making.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, there's a little bit of, like a Danny Rolling out in the woods.
Yeah.
Although Tristan's case is closed, there are many questions remaining. We'll most likely never know Paul's motive for killing Tristan. We will never know exactly why he purchased not one, but multiple weapons and other items that are often used in homicides. The quantity of the items suggest he was planning on harming multiple people. But, we'll just never know, Gibbs, if Paul Adams was on his way to becoming a serial killer. But as we wrap this one up, obviously he was not convicted in a court of law. But to me, in my opinion, there's just no doubt that he killed Tristan Dilley.
Well, he would have been the last one with her, and he had the weapon on him. So, yeah, how else could they have not convicted him?
Yeah, I think they would have convicted him very easily.
I mean, I feel for her family, her friends, and I feel for Paul's mom and, his family for not knowing what was going on in his head. And they have to live with that for the rest of their lives as well. I mean, two families torn up through this tragic event.
Yeah, the killer's family, they don't get talked about a lot, but, their lives are shattered too. Yeah. I mean, they lost a son, but they also have to live with the knowledge that their son killed this 14-year-old girl and possibly had his sights set on killing a number of other young girls.
Yeah.
At the very least, he was doing something shady on Facebook.
Yeah.
And talking with these girls, grooming these girls. But the motive, that's the part that I guess, boggles me the most, because it does seem as though his main motive was to kill her.
Right.
For what reason, though? I don't know that there was one other than to kill.
Just to do it. Yeah. Also think about her brother finding her at 13, how that most likely will stick with him.
Yeah. I mean, that's stuff that scars you for sure. But that's it for our episode on Tristan Dilley and Paul Adams. We got some voicemails, Gibbs. You want to check those out?
Let's hear them.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. This is Craig out in San Diego. I just finished listening to the Unsolved about the girl Rebecca on the Disney cruise. It's a pretty crazy story. I just feel like, Disney could be covering a lot of stuff up because they don't want to ruin their reputation. But at the same time, too, like, how hard would it be if something did go bad on the ship or somebody did murder someone? And, like, couldn't they just put the body in somebody's suitcase? And, like, what, they're not going to check all the passenger suitcases, right? Is that something you guys ever thought of, that somebody could have just walked right off the ship with their body in their bag? But yeah, I probably think that she did jump off the boat with all that stuff going on with her and the other woman and that man. But anyway, it was an interesting case, and hopefully it's solved one day. But thanks for everything you guys do, and keep your own time ticking. Thanks.
There's a classy San Diegoan.
San Diegoan. So I've been on a number of cruises. You ever been on a cruise?
Yeah.
And the part I hate the most is getting off the ship.
Debarking?
Debarking.
Yeah.
It's usually very crowded. Everybody's huddled close together. I don't know how easy it would be to get a body off the ship just because of the smell.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the person was killed like right before they left or something like that. But if it was days before, I don't know.
Do they make you carry your luggage off with you now, or you put it out in the morning and they take it and you pick it up on the custom dock.
You can do it both ways, I think, on the cruises that I've been on.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to let somebody else handle your luggage, are you? If you're trying to smuggle off a dead body?
I don't think you would want to.
I don't know. Could be. You never know.
Hey, Mike and Gibby, it's Brandy. I'm listening to the unsolved episode of Trudy Appleby, I believe is how you say her last name. And y'all were talking about New Year's foods, pork and sauerkraut, or putting coins on the windowsill. Here in the South, we have collard greens and black-eyed peas for New Year's. It's supposed to bring good luck and money. Anyways, I love the podcast. Keep up the good work and keep your own time ticking. Thanks, guys.
Brandy, she's a fine wine. Isn't that how that song goes?
That is not how that song goes. Fine wine?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the lyrics in my head right now. They're not.
What
playing.
a good wife you would be.
Oh, yeah. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess we're going to have to switch to collard greens and black-eyed peas because I need both good luck and money.
Oh, collard greens are good.
They actually are. Yeah. I haven't had black-eyed peas in a while.
Me neither.
My family used to make them. I don't remember liking them though. I have to check. I'd have to have them again.
Yeah.
And it would have to be somebody who makes them really well, you know, all that stuff.
We need a road trip to the South.
To the South? Okay. Yeah. We could do that.
We could.
All right, buddy. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Pluto TV has all the shows and movies you love streaming for free. That means laughter is free with gut-busting comedies like The Neighborhood, Boomerang, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Bueller. Mystery is free with countless cases to crack from Criminal Minds, Tracker, and Matlock.
I'm a lawyer, like the old TV show.
And thrills are free with heart-pumping hits like The Walking Dead and Pulp Fiction. Correctamundo. Feel the free Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.